Episode 182 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded May 9th, 2018. Funny business. All right, guys, we're going to talk about shows that are funny or about business, or possibly about the business being funny, or possibly...
I thought this was like a multi-level comedy marketing scheme where, like, you get your funny business, like us to invest in your funny business, but then we got to get our friends to invest in our funny business.
I will be funny, and then I will tell you a joke, and you will tell your friends a joke, and then they will tell you a joke. You'll get your joke back to me, and then I'll tell this.
Yeah, that's
like
your
Twitter.
down laugh.
Yeah, exactly. That's my down laugh. All right, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Ashley.
And everybody's here but Grant this week.
I know Grant's not feeling too good.
He's under the weather, so we had to do a change up. This was going to be our FX episode. Instead, it's a bit of a potpourri. Everybody's bringing something to the table. It's a TV Dudes potluck.
Also would have been a great name.
Would have been a great
TV
title.
Dudes potluck. Actually, this time of the year, it would make no sense whatsoever.
So we're going to be talking about Trust over on FX. We're going to talk about Cobra Kai over on YouTube Red, continuing our comprehensive YouTube Red coverage. And we're going to talk about Two Dope Queens over on HBO. And then, of course, we will close out with our weekly Westworld check-in. But before we do that, we always remind you guys that you can go over to support us on patreon.com/tvdudes. Want to throw a shout out to our new patron, Cameron O'Donnell. Thank you. And you can throw us $1 an episode. That's like about $4. You only get charged every time we release an episode. And you get sweet bonus content like this week. We're going to talk Infinity War again because we haven't heard what Ashley and Les thought.
I have opinions.
Yes, good.
So we're going to use the time stone. We're going to turn it back. And
turn it back.
Now it's still right after the movie came out for our Patreon.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose.
I'm sorry. And I apologize on mic.
You guys might know we are part of a network of podcasts. We've just changed the name of that network, and the name is Electric Sweater.
Electric Sweater.
Wait, really?
Yeah, we're Electric Sweater now.
Well, why does it still say permanent record on our wall?
Studio.
The studio is the permanent record.
Because we're coming to you
Studios.
live from Permanent Record Studios.
But it was confusing to have the podcast network also be named the studio.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like that movie Airheads. It's like we broke in here and...
Oh my gosh, that's going to come up later in the discussion when we get to Trust.
We're the Lone
no
Rangers.
Lies. Airheads did come up while I was watching that show.
I didn't expect there to be 2 Airheads references on our podcast.
I'm not even making this up. Like,
Airheads, the movie, comes up in my daily life on an embarrassing frequency.
Okay, all right, good to know.
Buscemi, Sandler, and what's his face?
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. The caveman. The Encino Man.
Yes.
But yeah, he was the Encino Man, right?
Yes.
He was also the guy who fought the mummy. Not once, but twice.
Oh, yeah.
But not thrice.
Fought the Rocks.
Overrated.
With Matt Damon.
Overrated movie, underrated ride. I don't know if you've ever been on the Mummy ride at Universal Studios.
No?
That shit
Fraser was onto something,
blew
ride a
my
mummy?
15-year-old mind.
Better ride than movie is what you're saying.
I mean, I guess it's a fine movie. I wish it no ill will. In fact, I can't really remember it.
Okay.
But that ride blew my mind.
The franchise that gave us The Rock, is it not?
What's that?
That's the franchise that originally gave us The Rock.
It did, well, I mean, wrestling gave us The Rock, but
that was
It's what let non-wrestling fans smell what the man was cooking, right?
yes, that is correct.
I thought it was part of that covenant God made with us.
I knew there was something
He'd never
gonna come out
flood
of
the
that.
earth again, and by the way, here's The Rock.
Here's The Rock. Almost does it. He's a human rainbow, really.
He's
He
the 11th
really
commandment.
is. I'm thinking about him playing a ukulele right now, and it's just, I get the warm fuzzies.
All right, so we're going to hit up some news here. Grant gave us our news this week. There's a whole list of every network TV show cancellation renewal of 2018. I presume that Grant's plan was not for us to go through this moment by moment, but what I found interesting was that I discovered in looking at this list that I don't watch network TV anymore. Because there are shows on here I've never heard of, and there was nothing where I was like, oh, they're canceling. I remember a short time ago when I used to be like, oh, I can't believe they're canceling my favorite show. That hasn't happened to me in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything you guys are watching on network TV that jumps out at you? Like, besides The Good Place?
No.
Have any of you watched that show, The Mayor?
No.
Yes,
No.
actually.
That is the one show that I've heard a little bit of buzz about, but I didn't give it a fair shake. And then whenever you see a show like that on the chopping block, you're like, is it me? Did I do that?
Did I ruin it?
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't have saved it.
I watched
How
I watched
could you?
probably 4 or 5 episodes of that one Saturday, cleaning house and stuff. It's a really cute sitcom, and I felt a little bit bad of like, oh shit, I heard this was good, and now it's on the bubble. And
Oh, it's canceled.
it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
They're ending some shows I've heard of, like The Middle, that long-running sitcom on ABC. That's
Yeah.
ending. Once Upon a Time, that long-running Fable show on ABC.
Yeah.
Also ending. Scandal is ending, which is a Shonda Rhimes show. That's kind of surprising.
Well, Shonda's leaving to go to
Netflix?
Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Scandalous.
We do not know the fate
Loved it.
of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I got her back.
Yeah,
gonna remain
not
terrible.
too on the nose somehow. It was perfect.
I have this feeling that one of the reasons that Grant put this on here is that Inhumans is still listed as on the bubble. It's fate unknown. Because if you've been listening, you might know that I made an ill-fated joke and wager in which I said that if they renewed the Inhumans, I would watch and review every episode.
Yes.
And so I keep waiting for them to officially cancel it, but I feel like if it's renewed at this point, it is only to torture me.
There's so much money to burn at Disney that I feel like they could do this just to grant me a favor.
But I love Disney and I love Marvel. Why would they do that to me?
Well, I mean, they also just said that they are maybe not buying X-Men and all that.
Yeah.
And so I think with that saved money, they're planning to produce a season 2 of Inhumans just to hear your thoughts.
I don't think that's true. I think it's very unlikely. But apparently, it's not a certainty. It is still Schrodinger's Inhumans.
Are you sure you didn't, like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, cut someone off in traffic? You didn't realize it at the time, but he wrote down your license plate number.
Possible. And now he works at Disney.
Yeah, it's our longest standing patron. We never really placed who it was,
only-
waiting for the moment that he could use your podcast against you.
He only pays the $1 a week just so he can get as much intel as possible on me.
Oh, this is like some old boy, there will be blood shit. Except instead of like you dying or it turns out you had sex with your daughter,
Yep.
you have to watch Inhuman.
That sounds awful.
It's not great.
No, it's not good.
I mean, it's not old boy, but it's not great.
I've never heard of any of the shows that are canceled over on whatever network. The CBS, no surprise there. The CW has renewed almost everything except for, I think, like 3 shows. So they're not going to continue the originals, Life Sentence, or Valor. Literally everything else they have has been renewed, except
right.
for iZombie, which is on the bubble, but will probably
Yeah,
be
Rob
renewed.
Thomas tweeted out today, like, I love doing this show. Please watch it live. Go
Yes.
kidnap a Nielsen family.
Make them sit there with you.
Take their TV, make them watch it.
You know what I'm excited to see on this list?
What's that?
Orville's coming back.
But it's still on the bubble, right?
No, it's
Is it confirmed?
I believe. Let me go check the list.
Because I looked at the list and I didn't see it on the. It's
Yep.
on. It's official word pending on the list.
Renewed.
Nope, go up
No.
right
you're
above.
right. You're right.
Yep.
It's renewed.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep, along with Empire, and that's supposed to be a terrible show. 911. New Girl is ending,
Yeah.
but that's on their terms. I think.
Yeah,
they're-
it's. I was actually. So I think I'm in like season 5 or something like that on Netflix because it's sort of like that show I leave on in the background
Yeah.
when I
Oh,
just
it's
have
great
nothing
for
really
that.
going on. It's really solid for that. And then something showed up in my feed and I realized it was still going on.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, when you were saying, things on network getting canceled, I was realizing how many of the shows that I've liked have ended, but on their own terms.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
most of the stuff I watch is prestige TV that wraps when it means to wrap.
Yeah, and I am all about that. I am totally happy with endings. One show that we don't know the fate of, and this is going to be a big thing for Kyle, is Fox's Lethal Weapon. So this is pretty bonkers. Clayne Crawford, who is the guy who plays Riggs on Lethal Weapon, apparently is kind of a douchebag. There was an incident where he became angry over what he deemed an unsafe work environment, and then another one where Crawford was directing an episode, and an actor was hit by shrapnel from an effect. That actor apparently was Damon Wayans,
Oh, nice.
and Crawford had not been officially terminated from the series, and he said on his Instagram, I love this, I absolutely love, respect, and care for my crew and cast and would never intentionally jeopardize so many jobs. I am incredibly sorry if my passion for doing good work has ever made anyone feel less than comfortable on our set or feel less than celebrated for their efforts.
He loves television. It just makes him crazy sometimes.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's insane.
I think there's two very important things to note here. One, that wasn't in all caps. And two, this is totally what Riggs would do in real life. So, I mean, why are we complaining?
I hope Damon Wayans turned around after the shrapnel hit him and said, I am getting too old for this shit. I think he loses a paycheck if he missed that moment, but I am all for them stepping up and firing this dude. That's great.
So he's been fired, and they're looking for a replacement. And I think I have a great idea for this.
Okay.
I think they should have a different actor play Riggs in every episode, and they should stunt cast it.
Like that Dylan movie. Yeah.
Yes, Donald Glover is Riggs.
Tilda Swinton is Riggs.
Tilda Swinton is Riggs.
Steve Buscemi. Yeah, you could do this all.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, you could get. I mean, as a 22 episode, 22 different actors, 20 different Riggs. You could gender flip Riggs. You can colorblind cast Riggs. You could have a dog play Riggs in one episode.
You could get that dog from Air Bud.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, because he is still alive.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That
dog is immortal.
I hope this actor is listening to us right now. I had a serious answer, but I'm like, maybe I should just save
No,
it.
fuck him. Like he straight up said, "I only hit you because I want you to be better."
Yeah.
That's what his sorry said.
Yeah.
Like,
What if? Oh my God! What if he's the guy in charge of the Inhumans decision? Oh, that could be bad for me. I just made fun of him, and now he's going to make Inhumans come
I
back.
really do feel
Different
like
network, you're
all
good.
decisions behind the Inhumans are trolling. Like, I really do.
Yeah. Kyle, do you have an actual suggestion?
I don't know. I thought that guy from Altered Carbon was playing kind of a good Riggs.
Joel Kinnaman?
Yeah.
That dude's moved on from Lethal Weapon, my friend.
Oh, yeah, no, he doesn't need that
shit. I mean, he can work with Blank Man, though.
That's true. That is true. The draw of working with Damon Wayans could bring any man back.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I had written off Damon Wayans. But you got to admit, he's good in the show.
Yeah.
Like, when the show is good, which it's not always good. In fact, I think it kind of fizzled out by now. So who knows? Maybe a new Riggs could pump some life into it, and you can hear me talk about Lethal Weapon some more.
Or 22 different Riggs, including one who's a dog.
That would actually be pretty badass.
really-
I would love that. And they don't even mention it. It's just a different plot point. But he still has this really long story points.
It's like-
so he still has, the girl that he's trying to get with,
Yeah.
but in one episode it's the girl's having sex with a dog. And it's just because
We just went to a weird place.
I like the idea that Lethal Weapon is like the backside of a Quantum Leap show we don't get to watch. And somewhere the actor from the original Riggs, he's just off in a bunch of other shows fucking them up. And there's just confused people like the dog from Air Bud, and somewhere that dude's trying to make a shot in basketball.
Yeah, I like it too.
How crazy would it be if somewhere Mel Gibson is like, I'll do it.
Oh, God. And they're like, well, you know what? Step up.
There's a lot of reasons I didn't see Daddy's Home 2. I really can't put all the blame on some moral boycott, but it was made easier by
Yeah.
His involvement.
I'm sorry, you guys. I spaced out imagining Dame Helen Mirren as Riggs.
I'd watch the
What?
shit out of that.
What were you guys talking about?
Exactly.
I can't remember now.
Yeah, fair.
Because that's all I can think
I want
of.
an action franchise with her so bad.
Oh, that'd be so amazing. All right. Santa Clarita Diet Season 3 has been ordered by Netflix.
All right.
That's good news. I really like Season 2. I think it stepped up from Season 1. And this is interesting. After an 8-year run on TBS, Conan O'Brien's talk show is going to go to a half hour, which is Daily Show length, which I think is interesting because I feel like that's better for Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously I don't know if it was entirely his idea or whatever, but the statements he said about it were positive. And
Right.
I actually kind of like the idea too. I mostly watch his stuff online anyways.
Yeah.
And I like it when he goes to the festivals. I like seeing him kind of be able to film sort of outside of the standard format skits and kind of do the commentary and then have his extended monologues and things like that. I'm fine with it.
I agree. I think it fits him better.
Yeah.
Well, and two, one of the ways that I would consume the Daily Show, which granted, my TV habits have changed since then, but that 30-minute chunk is much easier to get down. You can go
Yeah.
through 3 days of Conan's show now in an hour and a half, whereas before you could only go through a show and a half. It's kind of what keeps me from watching Jimmy Fallon, which I imagine he's probably pretty good, but there's so much fluff in there. You get maybe 5 minutes of, his best stuff, and then you're just sitting through commercials for movies and albums coming out and whatever else he's selling. Maybe that'll be the thing. Maybe Conan's going to be selling less shit now.
Yeah, I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think it's more. I think he is deliberately going. They're going to do one guest, just like Daily Show format, one guest, and then some bits and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so when I think about late night TV, like I'm not a huge Kimmel fan, I'm not a huge Fallon fan, but I like John Oliver, I like Colbert, and I like Conan. And
John
it's
Oliver's
like,
next level.
Yeah, for sure. And John Oliver definitely has a brand that is distinctive. He does long form oratory kind of like presentations. Colbert has his thing. It's nice to see Conan differentiating and having a very separate thing, so that they all three have something unique going on.
And when Conan first launched, I mean, like when we were all watching, I was watching Conan in the '90s. Yeah. The late night stuff that had taken over from Carson, like Letterman was wacky, but really they were pretty stoic compared to how wacky Conan was.
Yeah.
And now, like, late night has adopted his shtick. Like, Fallon's show is Conan's '90s show, kind of.
Yeah.
And so, I think it makes perfect sense for him to move to a half-hour thing and try to, maybe do what Joel McHale's trying to do, but better.
Oh, God, I hope so.
I loved the clip of when Letterman went on Conan's show right after he took it over. The spot that Letterman had.
I haven't seen this.
Oh, so it's a great interview in its own right. And then in the middle of it, and Conan's like 30 years old. He looks like a little kid, and Andy Richter looks like a little kid. It's adorable. And all of a sudden, like, Letterman's like, "Hey, wait a minute. How did you get this show?" And Conan's like, "Oh, yeah, it was an essay contest. I got 4th. Like, that's about right. Yeah. It is such a good moment.
All right, so we're going to give spoiler warning for Trust, Cobra Kai, 2 Dope Queens, and this week's episode of Westworld. So you are hereby spoiler warned.
Didn't All the Money in the World also spoil the shit out of Trust?
Yes, it did. Also, Reality.
Ooh, actually, we'll get into that in a moment, but it may not have.
Well, let's start with Trust, because Kyle, how many episodes are there? Like 7 or 8 right now?
I'm looking it up right now. You got me right.
Are you up? Are you caught up?
I'm all the way caught up. Although, as we're recording this, so if you're listening, last 2 nights ago, Wednesday nights, I believe it comes on. So as we're recording this, there's a new episode tonight. But this is the story of John Paul Getty III, who was kidnapped. And then, if you've seen the trailer for All the Money in the World, his grandfather, the head of Getty Oil, famously, is like, not going to give him anything.
So this is an FX show, and it is set in 1973. It is a story that I did not know, but which sounds sort of like custom made for TV because it's so lurid. And his grandfather, played by Donald Sutherland, is like, he has a harem of women.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is. You guys, like, no lie, like, he has like 6 wives, but they're not wives, they're contract girlfriends.
Yeah.
So Randy earlier said he didn't really care about spoilers, but
yeah, go ahead.
Throughout the season, they want you to know Donald Sutherland is an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, his house, like, is a character in itself. It's this English manor, and he's this, kind of shitty rich American dude living in it. He's got black swans, like, everything's black, just black everywhere, all because oil,
Yeah.
And it really just kind of fits the character. But
I like that he dropped that, like, because oil. Like,
because
right.
Right.
I'm trying to paint a visual here.
Yeah.
But no, just to show you how much of an asshole he is, he gets one of his harem pregnant throughout the course of the season, and she's like trying to decide if she tells him or not, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna," and he goes, "What makes you think I want to have another son? You know what this is? This is violation of the contract.
Oh, shit.
You can have an abortion, or you can violate our contract," and walks out of the room.
Wow.
And he gets these women like fighting over him. They dress like in all black all the time. It's
crazy shit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Donald Sutherland plays an amazing asshole. John Paul Getty, the head of it. His grandson's played by Harris Dickinson, who I don't know off the top of my head, but he's great as sort of this hippie burnout who comes in sort of looking to grab some money from his old man because he got in trouble with the mafia in Rome. And then his grandfather basically just sort of piss him off, piss off the rest of the family, decides to appoint this kid as heir until the kids. This is all first episode, by the way.
Yeah, no.
The kid. The kid's father, who's pissed off that he got passed up, reveals to the grandfather that the kid is a drug addict, which is the one thing the grandfather cannot abide, and fucks up everything.
And you want to know what's so amazing about this because it comes up several times in the show. The grandfather, played by Donald Sutherland, he hates drugs, all right? But you slowly learn the reason everybody's on drugs around him is the reason why you would be on drugs around this guy.
I can totally see why you'd be on drugs around this guy.
Like his son, who, for the most part, in the story is kind of just an asshole, but he gets kind of a prequel episode, and you realize, oh no, he was very innocent at the beginning of this. Yeah. And even the divorce with his wife, you can see the seeds of that planted by his father, by Donald Sutherland, the grandfather.
So the guy who plays his son, you remember the guy who he seems to always play shitty dudes? He was on Mad Men, and he's on Glow now. He's like the ex-husband. I'm trying to remember what that actor's name is. Is it Michael Gladys who played Paul Kinsey?
Here we go. Michael Esper.
Michael Esper, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he feels like one of those characters that dude should have played because he's just such a scummy guy who never blames everyone else for his problems, never blames himself for what are clearly self-inflicted wounds. But I think that the thing is, like, I thought this was going to be kind of like soapy and maybe a little boring, and it is definitely not. It moves along in a great clip. Also, Danny Boyle directs the first couple episodes.
That's what I was going to say.
It is gorgeous.
And he sticks on his producer credit. Oh, yeah. They do a lot of that, like Danny Boyle, like kind of steady cam. Like, they make you feel it.
Yeah.
And here's what, if I can convince anybody to watch this show, I'm going to plant this little seed. This is like Fargo to me right now.
I can see that.
Because this isn't just the story. This isn't just kind of like a gritty Danny Boyle. He didn't do Man on Fire, did he? But
no, that's Tony Scott.
No. But kind of that feeling, like that Man on Fire type feeling. No, this is like, oh shit, nothing goes according to plan. Every episode, they kind of like peel back a couple more layers.
Yeah.
And even the disclaimer in the show, it's this is based on true events. The dialogue is written to correspond with those events. We have combined events for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
I'm like that. I don't know. Something like that kind of speaks to more true than like, names have been changed or, we've taken some liberties. Because it does sound like they're trying to stay really true, but they figured out this way to show, no, here are the characters. Here are the people who were involved, and here's how dumb they were every chance
at every
they
step
got.
of the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It does have that Fargo, the sort of the kidnapping and the ransom and the crooks are stupid. My favorite thing, I've only seen a couple episodes so far, but the second episode, they introduce James Fletcher Chase.
Oh, yeah.
The head of security for Getty Oil, played by Brendan Fraser. And he's playing this Texas dude. So he comes in his cowboy hat and his accent, and he's talking directly to the camera the whole episode.
Oh, yeah. Breaks the third wall.
I've heard about that. So there have been some recent interviews with Brendan Fraser, and he's back in the limelight a little bit after taking a lot of time off to apparently doing the Mummy movies. Fucked him up physically.
No, yeah. Do you know the first movie I thought of when I saw him on here? I was like, shit, the dude from Airheads. Bringing it back. Sorry. Continue.
So, in these interviews, like he talked, they specifically brought this up as like being that thing of like America's going to see him and everybody immediately has the same like, that guy, I miss him.
Yeah. And that was, when he came on, I'm like, is that Brendan Fraser? And he's great here. He's so good.
Can I tell you about a scene later in the season?
Yes.
Definitely a spoiler, but this just tells you who the character is, all right? Eventually, Paul Getty Sr., he goes and he negotiates with the terrorists or with the kidnappers. And it's a thing where like he walks off with the head crime boss and his security guard, played by Brendan Fraser, he hangs back while these four dudes with guns are just all hanging around, and he takes a nap. He puts the cowboy hat. So the guy comes up, like the dude we've seen very violent throughout the course, starts fucking with them, and he like pokes him. And Brendan Fraser looks at him and he goes, "Oh, that's a nice gun. I used to shoot a gun like that in Vietnam." And the guy goes, "Let me see your gun." And he goes, "Oh, I got a gun." And he's like, "What is that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's just a radio." And he's like, "A radio?" And he goes, "Yeah, see, watch." And he pulls the antenna out, and this Black Hawk helicopter comes from behind Brendan Fraser, and a guy with a turret gun pointed at all those dudes right there. He goes, "We use these in Vietnam, too." And he just tucks it back in his pocket and keeps taking a nap.
All right, that's badass.
Yeah,
That's solid.
yeah. Every moment I saw with Brendan Fraser, I was super excited. What I did not realize is I looked at the credits is Hilary Swank is in this
Oh, yeah.
as Gail Getty.
Yeah, so Gail Getty is the mother of Getty III, the kid who's kidnapped. And just to kind of give you a little context, so you have Paul Getty II, who did not grow up with his father, but I don't believe so. As an adult, receives a phone call one day that's just like, "Hey, come be part of the family. Like it's time for you to take over the empire." And he comes out, he wines and dines him, and then he gives him a job. But if you're familiar with Henry Ford and his son Edsel Ford, it's kind of the same situation. Like every idea he has, his father goes against him, and all of his work that he does, he never sees any of it into fruition. He essentially is just there as kind of like a plaything for his father, much like the harem. So he then has a son, he has a wife, this whole thing tears the family apart. She remarries in Rome, and that's where the kid is when this whole story begins. So the father, he is living in England still. He's remarried or is some like weird swinger type thing. It's the 70s. Everybody's like still having a lot of sex. A lot of residual sex happening.
Sure.
I think initially I thought this show was the thing with Brian Cox that's about to come out that also is like horrible patriarch.
Right. It
over a
seems like in the same vein.
And that's by the guy that directed Big Short. I was conflating those two shows. And I also assumed that this was done by the Glee American Horror Story.
Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy. Yeah, like I just assumed that this had to be part of the like anthology crime franchises.
It's not what I thought it was either, and it is so much better than I expected. Like I was expecting kind of dry. FX does like that show Snowfall that we watched, which I liked, but was so forgettable.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, this is good, but I don't need to watch it. This is really, really good, and I need to catch up on the rest of it.
If only FX could figure out a way to get me shows without me having to, buy in on a cable scam.
FX really needs to have some kind of that is a big problem. They don't have any kind of streaming market.
That's why I'm not up on Atlanta.
Nope,
Yeah.
I haven't watched Atlanta.
I'm
I haven't
so
watched
sad.
Legion. I haven't watched Trust. Your network does not exist.
I will.
The only way I can get it through
FX,
cable.
we know you're
Yeah.
listening, so I will just give you this compliment. This time last year, I could not even watch FX on the app.
Yeah.
Now I've got a cable service, so I use their app that way.
Right.
But there was 5 commercials between every commercial break. USA
Yeah.
did this too.
Yeah.
So both those apps were useless. This year or recently, they've changed that. It's like 5. You get the same commercial every time. I mean, that still sucks, but it's just one like 30-second commercial, so it's tolerable at least.
One of the streaming channels I have, I mean, all of them seem to run the same commercial 9 times
Yeah.
through the show, but
Yeah.
one of them has a DirecTV commercial that has a song by Lizzo on it, and it's at least a song I like. And so there's always that like, oh shit, it's that 5 seconds of that song I like.
It's not a song you liked at this point.
We're close. I just saw her live, so it
You hear it.
put it back up a little
You
bit.
hear it over and over again. Any song.
It's going to get there. It's like the Discover commercials. The people the twins that talk to each other.
Yeah.
I think CW runs the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Or Hulu.
So what's a commercial?
Oh.
Randy?
Yes. So, see, in the old days, they'd show these shows called shows, and then in between the shows, when they go to a break,
Right.
they would show these commercials where people would tell you what products to buy. Sometimes
Okay.
there'd be celebrities who would make endorsements of these products, and you would want to buy them.
So, in other words, the reason that the people on the TV shows are rich is because we're secretly buying a bunch of shit for them.
Yeah.
I kind of feel
Like
like
in
a
Westworld.
Yeah, like in Westworld.
I kind of feel like
I
a
get
farm. It's like a Pharmaco kind of thing where like I'm getting a subsidized poor person tier of television, but I have to watch these experimental Jacob style mind control things. And I don't know if they're working or not, but
You know, like in all seriousness, I mean, obviously I was born in '82. I'm not that young.
you've seen
Yeah, I've seen
commercials.
lots of commercials. But it didn't take long for me to forget that I have to tolerate commercials until actually when we were doing our Star Trek Discovery pod on the CBS ad, I was like, the fuck what is
Yeah.
this? And I was like, oh, commercial.
And it's funny because
I was so annoyed.
it used to be reality, and now you get furious. You're
I
like,
know, I
what the
was like-
fuck is this?
there were a few years there where total strangers that just happen to be near me who I don't know were touring and everything. And yeah, I did the same thing. Like the first time I saw a commercial, the first few times it happened, like after like 3 years of this, they would blend straight through, and I would have moments of like, who the fuck are these people, and why are they on my? Oh,
it's a commercial,
not the show. That's a commercial.
If you go to like London or any foreign country, the commercials are the best part. Like I'm like getting through the show to get to the commercials.
Fair.
Yeah.
So speaking of experimental formatting, though, YouTube Red has its. Is it its first? It can't be its first original.
No. They've done original. I couldn't tell you what they
It's
are.
first
but
original
I know they've
that-
done original series
Its
before.
first original
surely.
that's gotten attention from anyone.
Yes.
And that is Cobra Kai, the 34 years later sequel to Karate Kid.
So apparently they've, I mean, as would be expected, Ralph Macchio over the years has had like 100 different sequel projects pitched to him.
Sure.
After the third movie, and like let's bring it back now, and all of them were not. He's like all of them just kind of sounded trite, and he just didn't want to do it. And this was the first one that came along where he went, "Oh wait, that's interesting."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as it's Cobra Kai, like
Yeah,
they're not
the-
really following Daniel.
The pitch is, and we are following Daniel though. I mean, he's definitely
Little
a
bit.
co-star.
Yeah,
but
I mean he's definitely in it, but
the pitch is that Johnny Lawrence, the bully from the original, the Cobra Kai, the one who sweeps the leg, he has become sort of he's had kind of a shitty life. He drinks too much. He cleans out people's gutters for a living. He's still driving his beat up old Firebird.
yeah, kind of a shitty
From the original
handyman.
movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That is awesome.
Oh, and it's the paint's fucked.
It is in the
That's
shape
so
of a car
good.
you'd expect to have been driven for about 30 years.
Yeah, he's down in Coors Banquet and
Yeah.
fixing shit.
And yeah,
He looks
he's
rough.
having
Felt beer.
a miserable life. And Daniel LaRusso he owns a luxury car dealership. He's married. He's a couple kids, and he's doing these ads where he karate chops his prices.
They kick the
and-
competition. Everybody gets a bonsai
Everybody
tree
gets
when
a
you buy
bonsai
a car.
tree.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and Johnny is just steaming because he keeps seeing this guy on TV, and they seamlessly interact with they interlace all this footage from Karate Kid and Karate Kid 2. Like they're definitely playing with like it opens with the end of Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Showing the kick and all that kind of thing.
Did they reshoot that?
No.
Because I saw clips from that,
No,
and I was like, this looks like it was shot with new camera.
No,
There's some really wonderful moments of that stuff. There's a point midway through the series where he's explaining to the kid, like the one student he has in his dojo, who is it's very much like Johnny reopens Cobra Kai and he has one student and it's this lame neighbor kid with no dad. I mean, it's exactly fucking Daniel LaRusso,
Yeah.
and he's the drunk Coors Banquet swilling Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
And only he's teaching Cobra Kai.
Also, he's kind of a dick.
He's a complete fucking dick, and he's so tech unsavvy it borders on insane.
Yeah.
But the show, like at one point, he's telling the kid like why he hates Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah.
And like, my girl and I, coming up on the summer between junior and senior year, my girl and I had a fight and we broke up. But like, I figured we were going to work it back out by the time school started. And then this kid moves in and starts hitting on my girl. And I go down to confront him, and out of nowhere, he sucker punches me. And it's showing the footage from the movie. And you felt the threat of like Daniel's about to get his ass whooped, and he had to come up and hit that kid. But you're watching it now going, oh shit, he did land the first punch.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like, no, I remember y'all bullying him, but listening to Johnny retell it now, you're like, oh shit, that was high school for y'all, and you're both adults now, and yeah, man.
Well, that's what's funny is that it's like
It's like Wicked.
I didn't
It's very much the Wicked of Karate Kid.
I didn't think I wanted to see Johnny Lawrence the bully redeemed, but I'm like, and the thing is, he's not fully redeemed.
No,
he's
he's
an
still a
asshole. He says something about like immigrants early on. He's definitely a guy who probably voted for Trump.
He
Like,
doubles down on
Yeah.
being an asshole a couple of
Yeah.
times. Like,
and yet they do give him a little silver line. Like they bring in the people they bring in these kids. Like basically the kid he teaches stands up to his bullies and has this big karate fight, which is a pretty solid fight.
Yeah.
It's a well done fight scene. And then all these nerds who are being bullied show up to his dojo, and that becomes his group. And Johnny is just, he hates it. He needs the money, but he hates that these bullies are the people, these nerds are he has to teach, and he just belittles them and bullies them.
Yeah.
And is trying to teach them the Cobra Kai way of like no mercy, strike first, strike fast.
and you watch him have this positive Karate Kid style impact on these kids' lives where like this kid is getting picked on at school, and Johnny teaches him shit that allows him to like become the fucking man.
Yeah.
Like he really is the Mac at school after this, and like his crew is the shit.
Yeah.
And then you watch the needle tip, like because Johnny's teachings are at their core be the
shitty.
bully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like be the bully first, so you can't be bullied.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you watch it tip the needle into like by the end of the 10 episodes, like that kid's an asshole, like and making some real asshole moves. You're really not sure where he's going to be in the second season.
And we're also watching Daniel with his daughter's dating the kid who bullies the karate the new karate kid, the Cobra Kai kid. And basically, this kid is like coming off as a nice kid with his daughter. You know, he goes to the parents' house and it's all, oh gee,
He knows
Mrs.
what he's
LaRusso.
doing. Yeah.
And his daughter, his teenage daughter, is this interesting character. And Daniel starts thinking like he wants to get back into karate. He like reopens the dojo in his house and he's trying to get somebody to learn karate. And Johnny's kid, who is like Johnny's a deadbeat dad.
estranged kid who's running like short cons and shit.
And he goes to work for LaRusso Auto to piss off his dad.
But then he ends up actually.
I assume he starts learning karate from.
It's
Daniel.
actually all right. So this series is written by the guys responsible for like Hot Tub Time Machine.
Okay, so I was going to give you
that movie is magic.
I want to give you guys the credits.
It's not necessarily what I thought would lend itself to a guaranteed win here.
I want to give you guys the credits. There are 4 writers listed: John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg, who you might know from all the Harold and Kumar movies.
Okay.
I fucking love Harold
I know
and Kumar
they're
movies.
so much better than they needed to be. They're so good.
Josh Heald, who you might know from Hot Tub Time Machine 1 and 2.
Solid.
And Robert Mark Kamen, who you might know from the original Karate Kids.
Yeah.
And The Fifth Element, by the way. What?
Yeah. So this thing's got an insane amount of heart. It really catches the vibe of the 80s movies. And I really found Johnny doesn't just get redeemed and learn his lesson. He's still complicated at the end of it. But
Sure.
But the same way you watch this kid become confident and then an asshole, I get the feeling if they get a season 2 that we're going to watch it finally click for like the world's dumbest middle-aged man.
Yeah.
Like that like this is shitty teaching because he was a bullied kid.
Yeah.
He recognizes how shitty John Kreese, like his sensei, was.
Yeah.
And but you haven't seen it fully like click for him.
Right.
Like it almost clicks, but you
He's still
haven't
blaming
seen
the world. Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't seen him fully realize like, oh wait, I just did that to a kid. Shit.
Yeah.
But it's almost there. It's
So you think in season 2 he might be the man who will fight for our honor?
I think so.
Yeah. Now we have 2.
I really liked this. I did not expect to like this, and I liked it so much that I actually went for the YouTube
I did
Red
the same,
30
and
day.
I've watched the whole.
You get a 30-day. You can get 30-day free, and then cancel it after that because YouTube Red is $10 a month, which is more expensive than Hulu.
What else do they have on it besides this?
No ads on your YouTube shows.
Now, if you
That's
do
it.
YouTube TV, which is separate, which is different,
Okay.
I think that includes YouTube Red.
Yeah,
but that
okay.
free trial is
40
much shorter.
40 channels?
Something like that. But
Oh,
the free
yeah.
trial is much shorter. So I went with just YouTube Red. 'cause I don't
Hulu
give a
is
shit.
busting into that too. They're about to have 40 live channels if they don't
crazy.
already have it.
If you enjoyed Cobra Kai at all, this week, today, actually, we also have an interview with Mary Mauser, who plays
Yeah.
Samantha LaRusso. So that's up on the site
Yeah.
now.
Can I just take a second to say you are killing it with these interviews?
Yeah,
True.
let's talk about what have you've done a bunch of interviews lately, and you got some more coming up. So what are some of the ones you want to run down?
Let's see. So we talked to Jimmy O. Yang, who plays Jin Yang on Silicon Valley.
Yep.
Talked to William Jackson Harper, who plays Chidi on Good Place recently. I've got an interview coming up with Brett Pope, who was just recently on Roseanne. See, I just spoke to Amy Berg on basically 30 minutes of being weirdly spoilery about Counterpart. It's mostly just me guessing things and then listening to how awkward the silence is and then judging if I'm right.
And I gotta say, if it wasn't for our Patreons, we wouldn't be able to fly you out for all of these interviews.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's-
Patreon, you really are keeping this ship going,
Yeah.
and keeping our man in first class.
Yeah, it's like in some ways it sounds like Les is the ringer, but he isn't. It's the Patreons.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we never would have been able to buy the TV Dude copter if not for the Patreon money.
Exactly.
I just want the 50 cal on it now.
I just want one of those remotes you were talking about. I don't even need it to shoot bullets. It can shoot
actually
bubbles.
with the
It's
rig.
It's
just
the
a fun
size of a 90s cell phone, too, so it's like...
Right? The big sat phone.
And then, like, the helicopter comes up behind me. And it's just you guys waving, like, hey,
Hey.
hey. Bye.
TV Dude's out.
Yeah, we're going to start dropping interviews on Mondays and Wednesdays because I have a backlog of like 7 interviews right now.
Nice. So yeah, make sure and follow those on the feed because we've got tons of interviews coming up. All right. So we want to talk. I think we covered Two Dopes Queens. We talked about the first episode. And we didn't get it. We were not super into it.
Yeah,
We had a room full of white dudes who just didn't get this show. It's
Yeah,
fucked up. I don't
so
understand it.
I've been gone for a little while.
Yep.
I was trying to learn too much math
Uh-huh.
and couldn't watch TV.
Yeah.
And then I came back to check in with you dudes to see what you've been doing.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out it was blasphemy.
Yeah, we fucked up. We fucked up is what you're saying.
So it's okay. It's all right.
So school us. What's this show?
Okay. So Two Dope Queens. I was not even knowledgeable about their podcast. I hadn't really heard it. I knew, of course, Jessica Williams from the Daily Show, and just some of her work and like her little bits on like MTV and stuff like that. But that was really it. So it wasn't like I was super into the podcast yet. And then Phoebe Robinson. I just saw them like when I logged into our HBO account. It was just like, oh, you got to watch this. We're going to love the shit out of it.
Did you see them at Moon Tower the other year? They were there last year.
Possibly.
They were good. I saw them live at Moon Tower, and that's why I was excited.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Because they're hilarious, but I don't know, the show, it didn't work for me.
Okay, so it grabbed me immediately.
Okay, yeah.
So the show has this kind of format where the two of them kind of come out, and one of the things is that they always have these somewhat like kind of outlandish get-ups, like really like kind of fashionable things. They kind of talk about that. And I realized that I might have, because of the way it was listing in HBO, I might not have seen the pilot first. It was Black Nerds is what I saw first. Is that what you guys saw first?
I don't
I don't
remember.
think so.
Okay, well, I believe it was Jessica Williams comes out basically dressed like one of the characters from The Craft because she was watching a bit too much of a 90s girl movies.
I do
at the
not
time.
remember this.
No.
Okay, that's not
And I was
All right.
like,
I'll start from
we're
there.
done, girl. We're done. I was like, let me just go get me a box of wine. I set that shit down. I got some chips and salsa. I told Steven not to expect me for the next week. I watched all of it. All of it.
How many episodes are there?
There's not very many. There's like 6.
Okay.
So it's pretty short. It's not super long. But what I loved about it, so obviously a big kind of theme in it, this is also like if you follow them on Instagram, it's just like too many white dudes. It's kind of like their
Fair.
So fair. Too many white dudes, and so they really do a good job of kind of featuring different comedians. Rhea Butcher's on it. Just all kinds of different people. Aparna Nancharla is on it, whom I love.
Yeah.
I know you guys love her too. It's just so all of the comedians she has on it are solid gold. But they have these kind of breakaway moments where they'll sort of set aside this kind of long running joke is that they drink a lot of rosé, and they always have these guests come out to like have like brunch or rosé with them. And it's people, everyone from like Sarah Jessica Parker comes out at some point.
Yeah.
One of their shoes like breaks, and they're like, "Can we get a stagehand to fix her shoe?" And like Sarah Jessica Parker comes out to fix her shoe, and then they drink wine. But also like Titus Burgess comes out to like drink and like talk shit about people with them. It's like it's fabulous. And I really loved it. But my favorite episode, and it sounds like you guys might not have made it to it, was with Shang Wang, who it turns out is a writer for Fresh Off the Boat.
Okay.
I have never seen an episode of that show, but I am sold on watching every one of them after hearing his stand-up.
Okay.
He killed it. He was so funny.
The thing I loved it. I love a good stand-up variety show, but it felt kind of like watching friends fuck around. Where like they're having a great time, but I felt like I was being left out of it.
That's what episode 1 is New York.
Oh, okay. So see, I accidentally watched them out of order.
Yeah. So Black Nerds is
So
the
Black
is the
Nerds-
4th episode.
Okay, so Black Nerds is the first episode I saw.
Okay.
And so
We should have done that.
We started
I
with the
felt
wrong
the same. I
episode.
kind of felt like I
Sorry,
didn't get
wrong
this and was
episode.
left out of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Jessica Williams is a nerd, but Phoebe Robinson is not. And so
I can see that.
when you said you didn't like the pilot, I thought that was the first episode you watched as well, which shocked me because we find out that she's hooked on Sims. Like, it's adorable. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I celebrate their entire catalog.
Yeah, so because the first episode I feel like it was like, oh, they're having a blast. I'd love to be there.
Yeah.
but I don't want to watch it. It's like going to a party and watching everybody at the party.
It's like,
You
how
know?
about some rosé for me?
Yeah, where's the rosé for Mandy?
maybe, so maybe we should get our friends and we should watch it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think I should maybe we shouldn't have started with the first episode, weirdly. Like,
Yeah, so I evidently watched them out of order.
yeah.
So I'm going to give that 4 a shot for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would give it another shot. Like it's not. I mean, it's not a long series. Tig Notaro produces and like directs several episodes. Like it just has so much like cameos and writing and like
Right.
producing by like Jon Stewart and stuff. It just has so much going for
I
it.
just kind of figured too their central theme, if there's a TV show that isn't aimed squarely at me, that's probably okay.
Yeah, that's probably
There's
true
the
too.
one.
Yeah, so it's like on their Instagram they do these like they kind of do like interviews with all sorts of people, but it's like it is actually called like Too Many White Dudes is the name of the little segment that they do. So to be fair, if you watched it, was like, I'm not sure this is for me. I don't think anyone would be crushed. I think it'd be like, yeah, maybe not. Actually,
I kind of figured it wasn't the end of the world.
yeah.
Well, in fairness, I wish people would make more entertainment for white dudes.
Yeah, it's
There's
almost
nobody
that's-
makes anything for white dudes.
They really don't. It's like
Yeah.
that demographic that's just like so left out.
I know, it's really a
It's
shame.
like, you always got to have like a girl in there or like a not white dude.
I know. And then the little you're given, I'm always trying to take.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if only like I know 95% of entertainment is made for white dudes, but why not like 99%?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's unfair.
It is.
That's true.
It's this one show on HBO that you guys are mediocre on and wrong about. But no, I do think that there are some episodes, and so now I'm curious. I'll have to look at which one was the
Yeah.
pilot because I actually.
They may
I
have
think-
started kind of weak. Maybe we should start,
It was
start with episode
I think
4.
Jon Stewart.
Jon
ate
Stewart's in
pizza.
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that was a later episode I watched.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
obviously, I mean, I don't need to gush about Jon Stewart. We all love him.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if you guys are going to give it another try,
Black
and
Nerds.
I would give Black Nerds a try, or the episode that Sheng Wang is
Which
on.
is episode 2, Hair.
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
so that episode is great too. So Sarah Jessica Parker, I totally forgot about this segment. So when she comes out as like the joke stagehand who's going to fix one of their shoes, they do this thing where they establish safe space, and it's basically like that knowing you, knowing me bit or whatever that like has been done on other shows, where you can ask an honest question.
Okay.
And the show is about hair, and so Sarah Jessica Parker asks some honest questions about hair, and it's good. It's solid.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to dive into Westworld episode 3, season 2. Ashley, how are you on spoilers? Do you want to go hide in our lounge while we discuss Westworld?
I'm okay.
Some
Okay.
of these characters are robots.
Some of the characters are robots.
They're all Cylons. I know that
I had
already.
the best like didn't spoil it moment with Shannon because I was halfway through the episode. She comes home and sits down, and I turn around and I'm like, I don't know if you want to be in here. You know, you're going to spoil the whole thing. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to pay attention. Well, for the next 10 minutes of the show, every like 2 seconds, I'm like, oh, this is what this means. Like, and I didn't realize she walked out of the room right then. So I just was like explaining the TV show to myself for like the whole last part of that episode.
That is a Patreon episode of waiting to happen.
Yes,
Kyle
just Kyle
explains
wringing
TV to
his
himself.
hands and running over the wall and putting push pins in, yarn, just muttering to himself.
like Charlie Day and shit. He's like, okay.
And so if Teddy remembers this, then oh shit.
Maverick.
I was like, Kyle, when did you take up smoking? Gross.
So we see our first glimpse of a new park. Not even a glimpse, like a full-on opening.
The Raj.
British Raj world,
Yeah, the Raj.
which, by the way, is so thematically in tune with what the show does.
Oh.
Like the notion of the white colonials going in and just using a place for their own amusement is so on.
There was an article I saw about a week ago. I didn't read the entire thing, but the premise of it was that Westworld needs to acknowledge the implicit silent racism of
Yeah.
Shogun World.
Yeah,
What fucking show have you been watching?
yeah. It's the racism
I
is
thought it
Applied
there.
was on
racism of
purpose.
Westworld
Also-
itself. Like
Yeah.
all of these parks are.
Yeah, it's all a metaphor for
I
racism.
was like,
yeah.
no. They don't have to do a special episode about Shogun World. They're doing the show.
We were just talking about this at
Yes,
dinner, Randy,
yeah.
where we were actually talking about it in reference, I think, to Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah, where somebody was like, yeah, you know, that Killmonger was actually kind of right. It's kind of the subversive take. And we're like,
yeah, congratulations on understanding the movie.
Yes.
yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah, that's why he's a great villain.
Yes, so he's not the Joker.
Yeah.
You watched the whole film. Good
Yeah,
for you.
good for you. But I loved the colonial world stuff. I love the way it opens.
Well, and immediately, like, I nerded out when they cut to. I thought it. I kind of wondered it when the tiger washed up on the shore.
Yeah.
But as soon as they cut to like everybody drinking tea in their white tents, I had that moment of like, oh fuck, they're in the Raj.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and what I realized, like that really kinky moment with the gun where she shoots him, I was like, oh my God, in a world where you can like fuck all these robots, like fucking a real person is probably the hottest.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was like. I was talking with a friend about this. Like, there's people who get into like edge play in our world, like knives and shit. There's no gun play in our fetish world, but in robot world, you can fuck around with guns.
Well, I guarantee Ed Harris is not the only person to get weird.
Oh yeah, no, for sure not.
I just want that to be a sound bite. Just hard stop. Ed Harris is not the only guy to get weird. He's not the first. He's not going to be the fucking last. I'll tell you.
I mean,
that.
he started out as Jimmy Simpson and aged into this. Like, how fucked up has he gotten in the
It's
interview?
not like they only made one of those black hats.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. You got me. Yeah, the whole fucking room was built for that. Choose now, bitches. Like white hat or black hat. It's you.
So then they're looking for Peter Abernathy, aka Dolores' father,
Which is, yeah.
apparently seems to have been turned into he's transmitting some
flash
kind
drive.
of information. Yeah,
Yeah, no.
It's a flash drive.
Now, do you remember the scene where Tessa Thompson walked the Wussy Rider guy?
Yeah.
Out and they're like, "Hey, this is what you're going to do to survive," and it tells him like, "You need to hollow out the personality. These robots hold a ridiculous amount of information,
Right.
And we're going to smuggle that body out."
Yeah. The question is, who are they smuggling? Like, is it Delos? Is it somebody else? Is it another company? Like, what the information is and who they're getting it to?
Is this a crew? Like, is this a separate cadre within Delos trying to do something else with it?
Right.
Like, what's the end game? We've seen drone hosts now.
Yeah, yeah.
We know that Jimmy Simpson's father, the original Delos head, is sick.
Yeah.
And so, at what point
Is there a power
at what
play
point
within
are
the
we
corporation?
free jack transferring consciousness into these bodies?
Yeah.
We didn't get any Jimmy Simpson this episode, did we?
We did not.
Ah.
They do a little like there was a little bit light Maeve too. Maeve has been sort of a little bit absent these last few episodes.
Yeah, this episode was heavier on Dolores and Living Arnold.
Yeah, well, there's the Living Arnold.
Although, which we can get to it chronologically, but I'd love to talk about Maeve here in a second.
Yeah, let's talk about Maeve.
No, I feel like this episode gave us like, I don't know, how do I form this idea? Okay, have you seen the movie Attack the Block?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
One of the things, like the underrated things about that movie is the
John Boyega.
costume design, how they just took like 5 kids in street clothing, but were able to give them like identifiable enough like traits with their hats and their jumpers and all this. When Maeve assembles her team, okay, it is Maeve who's just like looking sexy in this black dress. She's got the writer guy. He's dressed up like a little farmhand, like carrying around a donkey when we get to them. We meet back up. We get our 2 technicians back in the fray, and they've got that awesome outfit with the red sleeves
love
on
this
there.
red-
And then just a badass killer cowboy. And when you see this group walking around together, you're like, oh, that is the poster. That is Halloween costumes next year. Like, this is my team. Like, I don't care about anything else in the show. I just want this team to win.
Was it episode 2 or was it this episode where Maeve and Dolores first really run into each other?
It was last episode where Maeve was kind of like, "Fuck off."
I love the two, similar to the, Killmonger was right, like the two competing ideas of what freedom means for the robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Maeve looking at her like, well, since you're protecting liberty, you'll have to let me pass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I can do what I want.
Yeah.
That's what you're fighting for.
Oh, but we get a little bit of a twist this episode. We find the limit of Maeve's powers.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, she can't control all of the hosts in this world. That there are some hosts, and it does make you wonder, like, okay, why can't she control these hosts, but she can control
Right.
So-
and what exactly is the Ghost Tribe programmed for? Because they're just fucking killing machines.
They're I feel like the Ghost Tribe at the very least is programmed to kill and reboot robots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're creating that system. I mean, why else would you have a death cult and a bunch of robots that you need to kill a bunch of times and have remember it?
Yeah.
And
that's
in
true.
order for them to, as part of their wake up, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love that somebody froze the tablet in season 1 when Maeve first ups her programming and
Right,
everything.
right.
And that's when it got revealed for sure that her going back for her kid and deciding that her made-up kid is now her cornerstone,
Yeah.
that's the first free will she exhibited. Leaving the park is part of her job.
Yeah.
She's programmed to infiltrate the mainland and get information because Arnold or whoever, she says something in season 1 about like ancient code waking up inside me. Who's Arnold?
Right.
And so like she was programmed to do this from the start. And this whole revolution is technically just part of their program storyline.
Right.
Like all the shit that's happening to Ed Harris, like with the that was badass. The whole when he's trying to recruit his army.
Yeah.
I love that Ford's left a game to fuck with him.
That was such a good play on that refrain. Okay, so I've seen through the second episode of this season. So that was such a great play with that refrain. Like, this isn't for you. And then when he shows it there, he's like, oh, this is for you.
Yeah, this game is
they
behind you.
shoot themselves in the head. I was like, yes.
Yes.
You gotta do this alone. Yeah, I fucking loved it.
It was solid.
Yeah. I was glad to see the text back. Speaking of Maeve's story, like to see those guys come back was good.
Well, and I feel like the story with that group too is kind of going one step further because, and I'm bad with these character names, but the badass cowboy, and then his girl with the tattoos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. The writer
I
is
was glad to see her too.
Yeah, but the writer is sitting there telling him like, "Oh no, I know you," and he's even like telling him the dialogue before he says it.
Right.
And he's like, "You're not supposed to fall in love with Maeve. You're supposed to fall in love with Tattoo Girl."
Right.
And he's like, "I do whatever I want." And then Tattoo Girl shows up, and you see him just like, "Ooh." And I'm
To
like,
be fair, though, we all did that.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean that we don't love Maeve.
that's true.
I also the attack on the fort was a cool ass battle scene.
Yeah.
Using the machine guns and the look the soldiers get when the cars pull up. They're like they've never seen shit like that before.
Yeah. You know, I found something interesting watching that scene, and it's how the show chooses to treat guns.
Yeah.
So, obviously, if you're in Westworld, you have like a period-appropriate gun. It's not anything modern to it at all.
Right.
But when you look at the modern guns, they look more like a stapler or like some type of a surgical tool designed just for putting these robots down.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that we can have these badass action scenes with guns, but they don't show a bunch of bros out there with, their semi-autos. Like,
No, you're right. They're a tool.
Yeah, man.
They're a tool. They're just to put robots down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
And they don't even really look like guns outside of, like they have kind of a flat front on there with just like a really small hole for that. I don't know. I just found that kind of interesting. I wonder if that's a conscious choice they've made. Yeah. It also makes the Westworld guns look cooler too because stark contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the echoing of lines this season of like Arnold having Dolores in the real world and her saying, "Have you ever seen anything so splendid? The stars scattered across the ground." And he says, you get used to it. After a while, it doesn't look like anything at all, which is what all the robots say whenever they encounter anything that they
world.
can't see that would hurt them, as Ford puts it. And like they're echoing that stuff a lot. I love the constant violent delights.
The violent delights of that showed up in Rajworld. That's like a virus. I loved that. Those violent delights have violent ends. That's what's part of the rebellion. It's
they
call
stuck
the
with me with
rebellion.
the Shakespeare quote "Call to Rebellion." That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I found it. I really like what the show did this week. I talked. I don't know if it was last week or week before that, but I was saying how I'm not giving season 2 a pass just because season 1 was really badass. And in fact, by the end of episode 2, I was kind of like looking for something to get me interested again. Like I see the mysteries, I see what they're doing, but the thing that really got me interested this episode was with the tiger. We find out, the tiger has made it over here. Yeah. And we're talking about it. Maybe it escaped her. But no, what they tell us in this episode is we told you the tiger was there, but we didn't tell you that there was this much bigger story.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the tiger escaping. And I hope that means some of these other things that we've seen, we're going to find they're going to have just as much of an elaborate story to unfold over the...
I definitely want to see... I mean, this ends with Samurai World in the distance. We're going to see Samurai World next episode.
Yeah, so I would love to find out that Ford was involved in all the parks, and we were just watching his Westworld bits from season 1, but that he implemented this plot line
across
in
all of them,
all the parks.
Yeah,
because how is it spread to the Raj?
Right.
Also, I don't want to go into a show this much. I mean, that's saying a lot. I don't want to nerd into a show this heavy, but someone discovered the Raj a year ago.
Yeah.
In the Delos website, the fake website they set up for the fake fucking corporation that runs this show, right? In the JavaScript of the Delos website, in the JavaScript code, there are single images buried that form an animated GIF that's like 60 or 70 images long or something like that.
Oh, man.
And it's this Flickr fucked up code with like squares missing and bits out and shit that you can barely read Rajworld. And so some dude found it like
Yeah.
8 months or a year ago or something like that, and put it on Reddit, which, like, the Reddit community for this show has guessed whole plot
Oh, I'm
lines.
sure,
Yeah.
But
I went to the South by panel this year. The team that puts all that together, they call it transmedia marketing, where they create the website and they hide those things in the code. And it was just fascinating listening to him talk about
so
it.
there's an argument about that. Apparently, the guy that found it was like, I sincerely think that they were intending to put Westworld images up at one point and did not mean this to still be buried in the code, that like it was so spread out that it didn't feel like a game anymore. Like he just found this. Now, in one of the new websites they put up, there are like 6 or 7 more of these that are obscenely more complex. And
Nice.
so now they're pretty sure that even if they did the first one accidentally, that the show is now doubling down on doing it on purpose to reveal the other parts.
Well, no, I can tell you for certain there are 4 people whose job it is to come up with shit like this. So I could totally see where, like, you and I have jobs like that. You know, stuff like that happens. But no, I think they're spending a lot of money because they want there to be a next step. When the episode ends and you've watched the, next week, they want those people like this guy to be able to go out there and have something to fuck around with and have a little puzzle to play with. It's within the spirit of the show, and it makes them, talk about the show more. Gets us to talk about the show more.
Yeah.
We're freaking making them rich buying all their shit.
Yeah. Listener question time. So every week, if you go to Facebook, I post a questions post, usually on Monday. I talk about what shows we're going to watch and tell you guys to send us some questions. Sometimes, like this week, I completely change the post on Tuesday. But fortunately, none of the questions were about the shows, the FX shows we were going to cover. In fact, a lot of them are Westworld related. But we start with one that is not, and it's a Kyle Volte, and it's a great one. So Kyle Volte says, okay, TV dudes, it's a little known fact, but Thanos the Mad... Oh, first of all, this question is what I would consider a spoiler for the end of Infinity War. So if you have not seen Infinity War or you don't know the big ending of Infinity Gauntlet, the comic, skip past this question. Skip about 5 minutes in the future. All right. Okay, TV dudes. It's a little known fact that Thanos the Mad Titan also hates peak TV. It's unsustainable. And besides, his DVR keeps filling up and erasing episodes of Say Yes to the Dress before he can watch them. And you know Carol from McCowney is going to spoil them before he gets a chance to see them. So he is leaving it to the whims of fate. One broadcast network, one premium cable channel, and one streaming service are all that will remain after he snaps his fingers. You, TV dudes, are the whims of fate. What remains?
Easy.
Yeah? What do you save?
Well, here's the thing. You can't think about the ones you're going to lose. You just got to think about the ones you're going to save.
Yeah, what are you going to save?
Obviously, HBO's coming with.
Sure.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yep.
FX. I'm sorry.
We share a brain.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. And then I think NBC's a no-brainer. And if it's not, Donald Glover sealed it for me, so...
Wait a minute. NBC, that's your broadcast network?
That's what I do for broadcast, yeah.
Well, then you lose FX.
Yeah,
you
I
get
think
one
they're at
broadcast
Wait, I
network.
thought that was a premium cable channel.
One broadcast, one
HBO's the
premium, and one streaming
Well,
service.
I was counting HBO as
streaming,
my
that's right.
streaming.
Yeah,
Dang
so
it.
it's
HBO's my streaming.
Oh, HBO's a premium cable.
What?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand how the system
Yeah,
works.
I don't understand the math
HBO's a
of this.
premium cable.
Oh, wait. We're streaming Hulu. Duh.
No.
We hacked your
Oh,
question.
Netflix.
But you get all of the
yeah, but you don't
networks.
get any Netflix originals. It's Netflix, man. The amount of stuff network shows you versus the amount of stuff Netflix. No, Netflix. FX, networks, HBO is my answer. Les, what do you think?
Yeah, FX definitely for the channel.
Yeah, I think that's.
I mean, we lose the good place, and that's rough. That is
rough. I think
that is the Spider-Man.
Honestly,
Oh, no, you don't lose it
I think
because it
FX will
then
pick it
comes
up.
back to Netflix. The next season, okay, I'm going Netflix.
yeah. Netflix
You'll
for the
get it
streaming
eventually.
service, just because whatever good content gets killed by the other streaming services dying, Netflix will just pick it up. And what's
where I
remains?
watch Terriers.
You got a streaming service. You got a premium cable. So Showtime, HBO. I mean, there's really no
No,
context,
yeah,
right?
it's HBO. I want to watch High
For
Maintenance.
sure.
Now,
I mean, maybe
hard,
if you're like a bonerhead, you want stars, but
hard mode is if you say only HBO is a streaming net service. Then you got then you're screwed. Then you're like you got to lose. Do you lose HBO or Netflix? That's
Oh,
tough.
I lose HBO.
Really? I don't think I do. I think HBO's got so many of my favorite shows.
I think the living would envy the dead.
Yeah, my previous point stands. Netflix will pick up anything.
Yeah, I got to drop HBO.
Yeah, I would keep
gotta go
Netflix, I think.
Interesting.
Gotta get that British TV.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody ready for Westworld questions?
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Habmichael says, "Hi, dudes. Westworld has 6 parks, and we have seen at least parts of 3. American Wild West, Japanese Shogunate, and colonialist India. Assuming that Roman world and future world exist, what romanticized version of a region area do you want the last park to be? Bonus points if you can add metaphor like how India world had almost all hosts be Indians serving wealthy, predominantly white guests." So if he's right, if those are the 5, because Roman world and future world are from the movies, what's the 6th world?
We also would have accepted the book.
The book. I don't read books.
That's fair.
Well, and Raj World was just dead on accurate.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. What do you
they did that.
what do you get in? I mean, Roaring Twenties?
Gatsby World.
Gatsby World would definitely work, especially with the notion of sort of excess and material wealth. And that
Ooh,
kind of
what
thing.
about like Manor House Party type
What?
like English
Gosford Park.
yeah, like
okay.
English
Like upstairs,
You know
downstairs
what?
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
upstairs downstairs world, yeah.
I'm going to take that layup you just tossed up there, parlay that with, I'm going to call it Cloud World. It's where it's all hot air balloons. Dudes in twirly mustaches, kind of the same motif as
Like
Ashley's
hee hee hoo
world.
hoo.
Like Ty
Yeah.
Cobb.
Well, like all steampunky, but like in the cloud. Like Waterworld, but in the cloud.
Does everybody have a tramp stamp? Because it sounds like everyone might have a tramp stamp.
Everybody has a tramp stamp with trick ink that like does different stuff in black lights.
How many dreadlocked white girls wearing goggles are there?
What?
4.
lot.
There's at least
Several.
4. There's
There's
several.
several.
Well, every March 11th they have 311 Day at the park. And,
Yeah, there really is.
What's weird is, what if they go nostalgia? What if there's like 60s world? Like the turbulent 60s.
that's the thing. Like, I think some of these, like, I feel like a cyberpunk world would work, but
Yeah.
not for the rich clientele it would take to do this.
But I think that's
I think
future
there
world.
has to be a particular sweet spot for racist
Yeah,
and
I agree.
good old days. So Caligula world, I definitely see.
Oh, Caligula world, but that's Roman world. That's Roman
Yeah,
world.
so Roman world, I definitely get, but like medieval times, I could see something like that.
Yeah,
like where you get
yeah.
to be castle and feudal lord. But
Yeah.
I don't think they would do it, and I don't want to get into like a bigger Westworld conversation, but I do think it's kind of neat if you kind of did something similar to what they did the first season with the twist. If you had Future World, but you find out Future World is really just a flashback to what essentially is the future, like
Yeah.
when they create the park, but it's the past for this.
Right.
Yeah, and then maybe we find
so
out.
future
like,
world has this quaint Tomorrowland vibe.
Oh, yeah.
For tourists now,
like
where they're
50s atomic punk.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're flying around, like, but that's not the real world. Yeah, that'd be.
Anyone else disappointed there's only 6? Like, I
Jetsons
want there to be
world.
100 of these.
What was the underwater video game where you're like in the
Echo the
underwater-
Dolphin?
No. Yes, that was the one I was thinking of. No, like
Did you ever make it to level 2 in Echo the Dolphin?
I've never played
I've
Echo the
never
Dolphin.
figured out what the fuck I was supposed to do in that game.
That's because you have to be a dolphin to play it.
Okay, fair.
No, the underwater city that was like steampunky, and it was like a whole.
Bioshock. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like a Bioshock world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when you're talking about atomic punk, I was kind of thinking like Fallout, but with maybe less death.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind
Well,
of look.
since it's Westworld, it'd have to be more death.
Yeah,
And
that's
more
true.
boobs.
I kind of like to
And
imagine.
Wang.
Like, I would love to see a show
So
where
much Wang.
it seems like Lost, where it just seems like a bunch of people on a fucked up magical island,
Yeah.
but actually they're on the island where like all the spare parts and extra crap from the 6 parks are kept. So like you're on this insane island of misfit toys and shit, and you can't figure out like why like Julius Caesar walked by. Like it's River World. All these weird historical figures going by.
Nice.
And like you think you're in one problem, but no, you're literally just in like the Carney backlot for
You're in the
fucking
tech support.
Westworld.
Jeff
Yeah.
Goldblum's there, running shit.
You'd be like in the back of a living Madame Tussauds. Yeah.
Yeah, Goldblum should be the Anthony Hopkins for that world.
Yeah,
I think that Jeff Goldblum might be the Anthony Hopkins of our world.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
He's come a long way from Death Wish.
All right.
he really has.
Alejandro Rezapata says, if you guys were stuck in the Westworld versions of your favorite shows, how would you try and escape once the robots turn evil using items and situations from the show? So how would I escape Terrier's world? I would let Hank fuck up and I would escape. That's easy. It's, he's going to fuck up. He's going to accidentally let me out, and then I win. No problem.
I'm going to escape Billion's world by always siding with Chuck.
That's a good call.
Yeah, because anybody who tries to like fuck with Chuck, yeah.
This is why I love being a giant genre fan, because Middle World, like Middleman World.
Why would you want to escape?
No, exactly. All I got, that's just a random episode. Like, just hang close enough to MM and W, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to escape Bob's Burgers by explaining to Louise that if I get the chance, I'm going to stab her in the fucking back, so she better sleep with one eye open. But since we're each other's best bet, we better band together.
Why the back? Why aren't you doing the front?
I would watch
feel like
that.
she'd get it better.
Respect it more.
Yeah, she'd respect it more.
I was trying to do her voice. It's a guy who does that voice.
Oh, that's adorable. Now that I know, I'm so sad I missed it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we'll be drenched in blood, but the last two alive.
Yeah, I think that's true. Alec Miracle says, the second to last show you watch determines your road trip companions. You must choose 2 people from that show and take a drive to Yellowstone to see the landscape before the supervolcano blows its cork. Who do you choose? And, optional bonus question, what will be your vehicle of travel? Okay, the last show I watched was Cobra Kai. The second to last show I watched was, appropriately enough, Westworld. So if I'm choosing 2 companions from Westworld, I'm taking Maeve and I'm taking Dolores, and we're definitely riding horses.
Nice.
And I feel like that's going to be a fun... until they murder me for being human, that's going to be a great ride.
I'm still stuck back on really, really wanting Drenched in Blood, Last One Alive as my epitaph.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's, there's going to be something written on my tombstone, and it's not going to be that good. I'll tell you that. It'll be like, that time the bus got her.
like the World Tenenbaum, died saving orphans from sinking battleship.
So my second to last was Billions.
Okay.
Easy one. If
Yep.
you watch this week, or by the time you're listening to this, if you watched this week's, Muffy, he's definitely going to be
Who?
there. Muffy.
Oh, okay.
And Taylor. And we'd go on Taylor's jet.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think a really interesting ride is if you take Chuck and you take Axe. And then they bicker the whole time, road trip style.
But see, here's the thing, though. I feel like Muffy would be more fun to hang around with, and Taylor would just teach you a ton of stuff.
It's true.
Axe would make it about him, or he'd be preoccupied, and Chuck scares me.
Yeah, should.
Fair.
Should. Ashley?
So the second to last show I watched was Venture Brothers.
Oh.
Yeah. So, because the world is unjust, it turns out my boyfriend never watched that, and so I started remedying it immediately. If
Right,
not sooner.
it was that or break up with him.
Yeah, exactly. I was
save you.
Yeah, if he
well,
doesn't
I
know who
guess I
Shallow
need a new
Gravy is, you
boyfriend.
got to fix that.
Yeah. Don't you live a little outside the city, Les? Can I, just in case we ever need to dig a shallow
Right.
grave? Yeah. So, I would choose Orpheus and Brock Sampson. Obviously,
Yeah.
we would be taking Brock Sampson's Charger.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming because it is his car that we'd be listening to Zepp the whole way.
So the second to last show I watched was Elementary.
Okay.
So I would take Holmes and Watson. I'm pretty sure Watson would stay
Lady
on her
Watson.
phone. Yeah, Lady Watson. I think Lucy Liu would probably just stay busy with some she'd probably be doing taxes or something. She's boring as shit on that show. But Holmes would just be cynically fascinating about everything. I can't tell if it'd be the worst road trip ever or fantastic, but I think I'd learn a lot.
Yeah, it'd be an educational experience.
And then probably shove him into something horrible. National parks are a great place to disappear a body.
That's
I've
true.
heard.
I've
This
heard.
keeps escalating quickly, you guys.
a murder?
Yeah, it really does. It always lands in murder.
They do. Google national park disappearances. They really are fantastic. A lot of people go missing.
It's hard to cover all that ground. I watched the X-Files. Who knows what's living in those woods?
I sound way too excited about this. I'm just saying. I heard a thing today that the Chinese governments are using facial recognition software for their police departments now, and that U.S. departments are leaving. So I'm just saying, if you don't think there's a place to hide,
There
national
is.
parks.
Yeah.
No, there
well,
They're the libraries of the outside.
well, our government is doing
No
their
one
best
goes
to
there.
get rid of national parks, so maybe that's what that whole plan is about.
Yes,
You know where to
too
hide?
many people disappeared in bear's ears. And, that's where they found Michael Cohen.
Ken Ibanez says, "Hey dudes, I was just in the Austin area and had Round Rock Donuts, the so-called best donuts ever.
Yeah.
They were okay.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I really like Round Rock Donuts, but yeah, I've had better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Randy shouts their praises on
They're great.
Weird
They're
yellow
great,
color.
but they're just donuts. They're not
That's your
they don't-
spot, though.
They don't cure cancer. I know.
Oh, too soon.
Shit got real.
No, but speaking of people hyping things up and then not being as good as people say they are, what was a show that someone said was really good, but you just found okay?
Game of Thrones.
Tell me you only
Talk about
watched the
getting
first
real.
episode.
No,
First
he
four.
watched. He gave it a shot. Les did not connect with Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I've seen other people where it's season one's a slow burn for them. You get through season one, though, you're hooked for life.
different than D&D I've played? Because it just seems like everybody else in America never saw a fantasy show ever.
Well, probably a lot more sex.
Like Lord of the Rings happened. I mean, everybody's aware that like.
No, but Lord of the Rings is nothing compared to Game of Thrones. I don't like Lord of the Rings.
Wow, I just feel like we're dropping a lot of bombs and they all need more time to explore than I have.
Yep,
so first of all, I love Game of Thrones. I love the books.
Yep.
I love the show. I don't think we need to... We don't need to choose. We can love Lord of the Rings. We can love Game of Thrones.
Nope, choose. One of them is going to die.
But the looks on the faces when Les said Game of Thrones without batting an eye was gold. Because it took me by surprise, and I think I physically sat back. And then I looked over at Randy and Kyle, and they had looks on their faces like they misheard.
No,
It's like they watched me fuck my sister.
See, no,
I was just like...
well, that's also Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Which Lisa tells me I can't make these references. Like,
Maybe your D&D is like Game of Thrones.
So here's the thing. This is the thing I know about Les. I know that he's given it a shot. I know he doesn't like it. So it's not that I wasn't surprised. I wasn't angry. I was just disappointed.
at this point now, it's just funny for me to keep bringing it back up. Like,
I know.
there's nothing wrong with it. It just
So-
It's
didn't
just
grab
funny
me.
because, like, so I don't know if y'all do this. I'm sure because I know you guys are dorks about your media. It's probably the same thing. But I get, like, actual crushes on fictional characters.
Oh, that leads to the next
yeah.
question.
Yeah, so I actually love Tyrion. It might be creepy. It was like, oh, Game of Thrones. Everybody's like, we need to talk about this, sir. That was rude.
So I'm trying to think of a show that I like. That I feel is like overhyped because I'm sure there are some. Like I didn't love Mad Men at first, but I did kind of come around on it. But I think that's the closest. I know there's some shows that people love that I don't love.
Well, wait, is the question something that everybody loves that you thought was okay or something that is overrated?
I
Because
think
there are
it's-
even shows I like that I'm like, yeah, it's a good show, but people are like, no, you love it or nothing.
Yeah, the show that said was really good but found okay, and that's a good point because I feel that way about American Gods. I liked American Gods. It was fine.
That's how I felt.
I don't care if it comes back.
Okay,
I'm going to have to
so
defend it.
I'm really
So
surprised
I
it's
am-
coming back, frankly.
Yeah.
I am
You're what?
I'm really with the loss of the showrunners. I'm surprised it's coming back. But
Interesting.
I'm a super fan of that book. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Same.
like when I was.
Oh,
when-
see, I didn't read the book before I watched the show.
Okay, so some of the issues I had with, I thought the show was fine. I thought it lacked direction, like it was all over the map,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
sometimes that map was traveling by map, like they're the Muppets, which I didn't like. But what I found what I found kind of interesting is that so everybody loves Neil Gaiman. We all agree he's an excellent storyteller. He delivered, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but he delivered to them with a neat little bow a beautiful ending to this story. And the first season, I feel like kind of wrote them out of it, which would be fine. People can have creative liberties, but when I think of the showrunners and the writers of the American Gods shows, and I think of their strengths and weaknesses, endings aren't their fucking strengths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bold move, guys. Bold move. But I did like the show. I enjoyed it. And,
It was
But
fine.
I thought it was fine.
Actually, yeah, I didn't care for the ending at all. I mean, I'm curious
Oh,
to
I
see.
mean the big
the
arc
ending.
ending,
Oh,
like
yeah.
where the ending really is.
So like
Oh.
right. So like
I
you
see
think
what you're
about
saying.
like Lost, like there were like neat little like things every now and then, but at the end you were like, do you know where you're going? Because I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
The big arc of that story has a punch in the gut kind of awesome kind of ending.
Like, how the fuck did I not see this? And how could anything else have happened? And yeah.
Yeah,
Ashley, do you have a show that you found just good that was like overhyped for you, or Kyle? Either one of you guys had your
my answer's
ready?
going to sound.
I was already
like it's-
judging your guys's. I didn't come up with my own.
Well, let you keep you
Okay,
think,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Kyle,
yeah, go
let's
ahead.
hear yours.
No. My serious answer, even though it did introduce me to kind of Grant's love for TV, but Lost.
Yeah,
And I mean, he built a monument towards it. So I mean,
yeah. Grant
it's a pinch
definitely hyped up
overhyped.
Lost.
Even if
Yeah.
it's the best thing ever, he went a step further.
and he's not here, so we can talk all the shit we want about.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you. I liked it fine, but I was like, whatever.
I didn't watch it when it aired live. I feel
Yeah.
like maybe I'd have been one of those people if I watched it live. But when I went back to binge it, I'm like, all right, I'm digging it, but these are hour-long episodes.
The first two seasons, I binged like nothing I'd ever seen on TV. And, But then it ran another, 3 or 4 years?
I think the thing about Lost is
Yeah.
you had to be watching it in real time as it was coming out, because at the time it was kind of revolutionary. It was doing sci-fi and it had moment-to-moment writing like no sci-fi had at that point. But if you compare it to where we are now on peak TV, it's not as strong. It's not. It doesn't do. It's kind of like, I remember going back to read some of Will Eisner's stuff. And Will Eisner's like a comics god, but everything he'd done has been taken and used and influential on other people. And so it didn't seem as fresh and as new to me because I'd seen the offspring of all that writing. And I think that's the problem with things like Lost. If they're revolutionary at the time, and you talk about how revolutionary and amazing they are, but then you go back to them a few years later, and it's like everybody's incorporated those parts of the buffalo into their show.
Yeah.
And so all you're seeing is dismembered buffalo.
I mean, I'm not saying Hill Street Blues wasn't great, but if you want to watch The Shield, it's not really going to scratch that itch.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I think for me, this might fall into that category of I liked it, I thought it was fine, but maybe it got overhyped, and so now I'm like, I feel that way a little bit about Silicon Valley.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so I actually like it. I think it's fun. I think it's a good show.
Yeah.
I watch it from time to time.
Yeah.
But then when I'm around a certain friend who's just like a diehard, I'm kind of like, okay, I just don't.
Yeah, I think if you worked in Silicon Valley, you work in tech, I think it has jokes are working on another level.
So I worked in tech for 10 years.
You worked in tech.
And then I left it.
Is that maybe that's the reason? Is like that world and it's not funny. That's just not funny.
I held off on that show for so long, and it wasn't until like two friends watched it like real quick of like, holy shit, this is great, that I binge watched all 4 seasons in like a week or two. And so now I'm caught up. And binge watching them, it was exceptional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because like it would
jokes
set
are
up
pretty layered,
and each episode would set up and fail at something just stunning and leave you in
The
this
Entourage formula.
Yeah.
And so
We got the movie. We don't got the movie.
And so like it really lent itself to it's Entourage for
It's Entourage for
ugly
nerds.
losers.
Yeah. And it is a little broy. It can get a
it's
little
very
broy.
fucking, so is Silicon Valley.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Entourage
a little
program.
bro.
No. I mean, like, so is the real
my
place.
God.
the
Oh, yeah,
tech
sure.
industry.
Yeah.
You guys didn't like Two Dope Queens, and I'm a little cold on your broy ass show. This actually kind of makes sense.
I think we've cracked the code.
You know
Yes.
what? A little knowing you, knowing me.
It's as if Silicon Valley's aimed at nerdy white dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
And Kumal.
I don't know anybody. Yeah. All right. Ross Brown says 2 characters from 2 different shows you'd love to see meet. I'd go with Gretchen from You're the Worst and Mickey from Love. They'd murder each other, but it'd be hilarious to watch.
always about murder with you 3.
But Gretchen actually would. Gretchen stabbed her husband because she was bored, because she's the worst and also one of my favorite characters.
Not Gretchen.
Not Gretchen.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Lindsay's the worst.
Yeah, you're right. Lindsay's the worst. Gretchen is merely bad. 2 characters from 2 different shows you would love to see meet. Let's see. I'm going to jump to Silicon Valley because we had that. I want Jonah Ryan and Erlich Bachman to meet. I think the 2 of them would really hate each other.
That would be a great spinoff.
Yeah. The 2 of them just like running the people the most hated that nobody wants to deal with. The 2 of them like running a consulting firm in Silicon Valley for politicians.
This may just be because I'm caught up in season 5 on Silicon Valley now,
Yep.
but I kind of want to see Jared meet Maeve.
Oh my God. Maeve would totally own Jared. He would do
He'd
everything
be in
for her.
love, though. He's been on emotional
Oh, yeah.
abstinence.
Yeah.
Who is Paperboy's guy in Atlanta, his right-hand man?
Oh, it's Lakeith, but what's the character's name?
Not Donald Glover's character.
No,
Yeah,
it's,
no.
oh man, it's his real name's Lakeith, but I'm blanking. Hang on, I'm looking it up. Who else do you want to see him meet?
Buster from Arrested Development. And they just kind of talk about... Well, actually, no. I'm thinking of
Darius.
this character from
Darius.
Veep.
Yeah, it's a
bit more.
Darius.
Although I think I'd rather him meet Buster. And
Darius
just-
and Buster. Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah, Ashley, you got any too?
I don't know. I know, and now I like have the shows we were kind of thinking about already. I really feel like Tyrion and Maeve could fix a few things in the world.
Tyrion and Maeve would fix a lot of shit. It'd be bloody.
It would, but you know what? Justice would
end
be
of the
served.
day.
Yeah.
End of the day.
I'd love a really dramatic scene where Tyrion's like, I'm a dwarf, and Maeve's like, I'm a robot. It can never work.
Gary Busey and Space Ghost.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Colbert and Space Ghost.
Yes.
Really?
I'm
Just
I'm
Space
thinking like
Ghost?
I'm with Busey, Gary Busey,
Yeah.
and only Space Ghost instead of that poor kid.
Jonathan Huffnagel to close us out. Good evening, TV dudes. What TV cast do you think should be thrown into a plot from a horror movie? What kind of horror movie plots would you wish to subject your chosen cast to and why? Also, who would die, who would be the secret killer, and who would survive? May imaginative inquiries never die and live long enough to see themselves become the final girl.
I'm going to go with Roseanne on this one.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, because they would appreciate it. They love Halloween.
Yeah, sure.
Second of all, I love them, but I'm a little bitter these days.
Yeah, I understand.
Obviously. And there's so many secret killer options. I think Dan would make a great one.
Yeah.
I think Darlene would make a great one.
Yeah.
I feel like Roseanne's the obvious one, but it might be
What if
her
Dan's-
sister.
Man, Dan being the killer would be so great.
It would be.
The jolly killer.
Is Dan the kid from Big Bang Theory?
No,
No,
Dan
it's
is John Goodman.
John Goodman. Okay. Is the kid from Big Bang Theory on Roseanne?
He's not on the new one, is he? Or
Is he not on the new one? I didn't know if they
so
bring him back.
so I know the general plot lines for the most recent episodes and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and I've seen her interviews. I think she was on not Fallon, the other Kimmel. I think she did an interview on Kimmel. So I haven't seen full episodes.
Okay.
I was like, that
So-
kid is going to be in a horror movie, though.
Which
Yeah,
kinda
which
weird.
what kind of horror movie would you throw them in? Just regular slasher? Aliens?
No, you know what? I'm torn. On the one hand, I want a classic like Friday the 13th because I really feel like Suburbia in like the 80s. I really feel like that works.
Yeah.
But then also because I'm pretty sure everyone on that show might be a genre fan, like legit. And they had all those episodes in classic Roseanne
Yeah.
about Halloween. I feel like they could do a really good Scream type thing where
yeah.
it breaks the fourth wall a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think It's Always Sunny.
Those are always you can throw those guys are so good for all these questions.
Any of these answers, yeah,
Yeah.
always.
What horror movie you
so,
throw them into?
So the type of genre would be a your next hush kind of like
Home
trapped
invasion?
in the house home invasion type thing.
Is it at the bar?
But yeah, obviously they'd all be trapped at the bar trying to figure out
Right.
who the killer is. They would find all these bodies, which would turn out to be Dennis from a completely unrelated ongoing killing spree.
Would it be real
Not-
Dennis or alternate universe Dennis?
Both, just all in one big pile.
Okay.
So just tons of, but unrelated to the actual horror movie happening right now. Mac would kill someone just to prove that he can.
Yeah.
because like he's as manly as he could be the killer. Why does anybody think I could be the killer?
Right, yeah.
And so he'll kill D.
Yeah.
And Frank will actually be the mastermind of the whole thing, but never actually get around to actually killing anybody. And then Charlie will wild card and kill he and Frank, which would be the last two standing.
So-
as Frank's like gleefully explaining that I was going to be the killer.
So
but all
he's
of
like
you,
the Saw guy, basically.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Okay.
he's trying to be Jigsaw.
Yeah.
But Charlie actually ends up accidentally killing Frank.
So do you bring in like Rickety Cricket and some of those guys for this? They show up and get killed?
Oh yeah. I think they'd have to be just corpses everywhere.
Oh,
we'd have
and
to
those
find parts
weird
for-
cousins.
Doyles.
yeah,
The Doyles. Well, also, I feel like
With
that
Jimmy
your-
Simpson, yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And your storyline really works because we kind of thought Mac, or not Mac, but
Oh,
Dennis,
Dennis is
was
definitely a serial
Dennis
killer
is
for a
definitely
while.
a serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been a problem for a while.
So I think it'd be
Cal?
great to find all the bodies and him be like, oh no, that's a whole other thing.
You know, I came up with an idea, and then I was like, wait, they might actually do this.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was like, oh, you take the cast from Archer,
Yeah.
and you put them in like an Agatha Christie.
Oh, my
and
God.
Then there'll be one.
Yes.
Or what's
Murder
that?
in the Danger Zone.
Yeah, Murder in the Danger
or
Zone.
like on a
millennials.
train or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I would love
with that cast, no lie, you could do a like what's it called, like confinement horror, like Buried. You know,
yeah.
where you're like trapped
Yeah.
and it's like a bottle film.
Yeah.
You could totally do that with this cast because they're just so funny. Like them trapped in a box for an hour, you know.
I would definitely
Yeah.
listen
I
to
would
John
really
Benjamin.
watch that.
Yeah.
I want to see a Get Out sequel with Atlanta. So the family opens an expansion in Atlanta, and the Paperboy gets dragged into it because he's famous. And then I just imagine Ern going around the hole. And he's like, "We gotta get out of here. This place is messed up." And he's like, "No, this is good. They're paying me."
Gotta get that money.
Yeah, I think it would be absolutely wonderful if they all went in there, especially considering that Darius is in.
Yes, Darius is in
Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah.
It would be great to have them like walk around in there and Darius look around and like, nah, fuck this. Like I could just see Paperboy like get up the steps and like, no.
No. That is why it wouldn't work. They'd all know. They'd be like, nope. Shut that shit down. Let's go.
Just see Ern explaining it to him like, I'm not taking that gig, man.
Yeah. He's like, here's what's going to happen. First of all, there's a bunch of white people, and it's going to seem fine, and one of them's going to talk about voting for Obama.
You want us to drive to where? No.
No.
Yeah, it's all just him explaining what would have happened, and they flashed.
Oh, they
to it.
wouldn't have made it past the deer. Fuck that.
That's right. Nope, we're going home. Yeah. Yeah. All right. That wraps it up for us this week. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Ashley and Kyle and Les.
Thank you, Randy.
And
thanks. I missed you.
Thank you to our listeners for their questions. Thank you to our patrons for their patronage.
Flying Les out to do these interviews.
Yeah, on the TV Dude copter with the Vietnam style cell phone.
So everybody knows we're totally joking, and people call me on Skype.
Aw, way to kill the
recording
magic.
software.
You ruined the truth of the TV Dude copter.
Like all other UT grads, I can't leave Austin, and I'm not allowed by law.
And until next week,
TV Dude's out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.